Hello and welcome to the continuation of the series where I'm setting out to rank all 25 of the movies released by Pixar Animation Studios. This ranking is broken down into 5 parts, so each video is covering 5 movies. This is the 4th video where I'll be ranking my choices for places 10 through 6. Let's get into it. This is a least to most favorite list, not a best to worst list. And yes, there's a big difference. My personal taste doesn't necessarily reflect sheer quality, and we all like different things anyways, so keep that in mind. This video will also contain spoilers just in case you haven't seen all the movies yet. Now please sit back and enjoy the next 5 entries in my Pixar ranking.
Number 10. Finding Nemo.
One of the true Pixar OGs. I've never had it super high on my ranking, but I can't deny its many great qualities and the massive imprint that it's left on animation and pop culture. After an unspeakable tragedy rips Marlin's wife and future children away from him, he's left with just one, Nemo. This leads Marlin to become an extremely paranoid and overprotective parent. Completely understandable, right? But throughout the course of the movie, Marlin goes on a journey to save his son that not only opens his eyes to the world, but allows him to begin to trust others, including Nemo. I'm not the biggest fan of the journey plot, which is one of the main reasons I don't have this movie higher, but with Dory at Marlin's side, their encounter still managed to be pretty amusing and engaging. Another reason Finding Nemo isn't higher is that I don't love Marlin or Nemo. Marlin's stern disposition and paranoia are understandable, but it makes him a bit boring and unlikable to me. And Nemo often comes off as whiny and annoying. I think I just don't like his voice. Dory almost makes up for both of them, however. Her character is so funny. She single-handedly brings all the humor that the movie needs, but she also contributes a ton of heart. She has short-term memory loss, but that doesn't affect her optimism or her generous spirit. The side characters like Bruce and Crush are memorable, and overall I do enjoy the collection of characters in the tank. Nemo's experience with them helps him in his arc towards becoming more independent and confident in himself. The animation is really solid, especially for its time. It doesn't look as amazing if you compare it to recent Pixar works, but it still holds up. Underwater animation always impresses me because there's just a whole other level of physics and lighting to consider, and this movie does it fantastically. My only complaint is that I'm big on backgrounds, and the ocean doesn't have as much to offer in that department. The backdrop for scenes is often just blue abyss, but there's not much that can be done about that. I really enjoy the character designs in the film. The tankfish come to mind as standouts. Thomas Newman's score in Finding Nemo is one for the ages. This score is pretty much perfect. Newman's talent for capturing the peaceful essence of being underwater is a bit astounding, honestly. The emotion is gorgeous as well. Nemo egg, anyone? Finding Nemo is a wonderful film. The story of a scared father putting himself out there and overcoming his deeply ingrained fear of the world in order to save his son is about as compelling as it gets. I'm not in love with the plot format and some of the characters, but this movie nails it with its music, humor, and emotion.
Number 9. Monsters University.
I bet almost everyone is wondering what the hell this movie is doing so high. The simple answer is because I enjoy it. I think I still would have preferred if Monsters Inc. got a sequel rather than a prequel, but for what it is, I'm really glad Monsters University was made. People tend to write this movie off by saying it's just another generic frat movie, but Pixar version. That take annoys me because it completely ignores the true underlying theme of the movie. Now, if you don't like this movie, you don't like it. That's totally fine, but it seems like people mostly write the whole movie off without considering its core message. Monsters University explores the heartbreaking reality of what it's like when you are physically incapable of achieving your dream. Lots of movies spin the idyllic, you can do anything you set your mind to narrative, which is nice, but it's not always realistic. Monsters University looks the problem dead in the eye and goes for it, and I respect that so much. Mike's biggest dream in the world is to be a scarer, but he's not scary. No matter how much knowledge he has or how bad he wants it, this is a goal he simply can't achieve. And that sucks. But another thing I like about MU is that it doesn't leave us in a pit of depression. Mike and Sully, who didn't get along initially, connect over their shared insecurities and also realize that they make a great team. Mike is the brains of the scaring, but Sully is the physical execution. They have their roles where they shine, and together they pull off something that the school had never seen. And another thing I like about MU is that it doesn't clear Mike and Sully of the consequences of their actions. They get expelled, so they find their own path. They start working at Monsters Inc. in the mailroom and work their way up. And eventually, Mike still gets that dream moment of stepping over the line onto the scare floor as an employee of Monsters Incorporated. It wasn't in the exact capacity he envisioned, and he got there in an unorthodox way, but he still pulled it off. He accepted his reality and worked with it, and I think that is so cool. One of the first ever videos on my channel was actually a short video essay about why I think Monsters University is thematically underrated. So if you'd like to hear my thoughts on this in a little more depth, go ahead and check it out. I'll link the video on screen and in the description. The theme is the main thing that impresses me with Monsters University. I won't pretend that the plot is all that. Underdogs succeeding in a competition isn't anything new, but it's still fun to watch. I'm not overly fond of any of the new characters in Uzma Kappa, but they're fine. Squishy's mom is the best new character.
I'll just be here listening to my tunes.
Mike and Sully are the ones I'm concerned with. Mike isn't the most likable character, but as I explained, I just love his arc in this movie. Sully is interesting because we know him as the sweet, lovable guy from Monsters Inc., but he's a massive douche when we're first introduced to him here. We learn that he acts this way because he's terrified of not living up to his family legacy, and that's not anything too original, but I like his growth in the film. The idea that the jerk we first see in Monsters University is the same guy who absolutely falls in love with Boo later on in life is very satisfying to me. The animation for MU isn't anything out of the ordinary. It's well done, but what makes it slightly more notable is the color and vibrance. Lots of the monsters' designs aren't that appealing to me, but the overall look of the movie sure is. I also like the younger versions of Mike and Sully. Mike's retainer and Sully's quiff are nice touches. I actually prefer Sully's look in this movie to his original design. The score isn't outstanding, but it gets the job done. I like the appropriately collegiate sound of it, and the fact that MU has its own theme song. Monsters University is far from the best Pixar movie, but it makes my top 10 due to its guts for exploring an incredibly hard truth that many people face in a nuanced and optimistic way. The movie's themes can apply to many different situations in the real world, and it can even be a metaphor for something like disability. The actual plot and characters aren't anything too special, but I believe MU deserves some respect for what it achieves. It certainly has mine.
Number 8. Coco.
Coco, I'd say, is the last original new film from Pixar that has really impressed me and left a lasting impact. The movie includes themes about passion and family that are interwoven beautifully with music and Mexican culture. Miguel's dream in life is to be a musician, but his family has disowned music since his great-great-grandfather abandoned his family to pursue it. Miguel becomes very fed up with his family and feels alienated from them. He doesn't care about their traditions and just wants to escape from them. It's only through entering the land of the dead and interacting with his ancestors that Miguel learns what really happened and comes to value family and treat tradition with much more reverence. And not only that, his family heals. They welcome music back into their lives, and there's a much higher level of harmony and understanding between them all. I enjoy the plot in Coco. It's very unique and watchable, and I'll be honest, the first time I watched the movie, I was genuinely surprised by the plot twists. For some they were obvious, but they got me. The good thing is, even though the surprise is gone on rewatches, the strength of the story doesn't suffer. The connection between Miguel and Hector is special. They share in a passion for music, and they help each other get to a much better place. The scene where Miguel tearfully sings "Remember Me" to Mama Coco and she joins in, remembering her father. That's one of the most emotionally gorgeous scenes I've ever seen in my life. It's so quiet and understated, but it is gigantic in its implications. It's an absolutely incredible moment. I enjoy spending the majority of the film with Miguel and Hector. They're likable and have a genuine connection. We don't get to know the rest of the family that well, but they fill out the cast effectively with their different personalities. Ernesto de la Cruz is a fun, slippery type of villain, and his demise is satisfying. A huge part of Coco is obviously the music. Michael Giacchino scored the movie, and I love his work here. It's grand and well suited to the story and culture. My favorite element is the acoustic guitar. I find it to bring an almost tender, enchanting quality to the film. The original songs written by Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez are brilliant. Remember Me is the heart of the film, and it really is a beautiful song. Jermaine Franco and Adrian Molina also wrote songs for Coco, and I enjoy their track, Proud Corazon. It's so wonderful to see how music helps tell the story and also brings together the family and heals them in the end. The animation is out of this world in Coco. I look at shots like this and I can't even fathom how animators not only conceptualized but executed them. The whole movie feels very rich and it's a treat to observe. I love the designs of the skeleton characters in the Land of the Dead. It was probably a challenge to design skeletons that didn't just look creepy, but they did it. I'm so happy to have Coco in Pixar's collection of films. It's a heartfelt movie that shares a deep love for music and places a special importance on family. I loved getting to learn about Mexican traditions like Dia de los Muertos, and as an animation lover, this one knocks it out of the park. Coco is a movie that I look forward to enjoying for years to come.
Number 7. The Incredibles.
This was a superhero movie that arrived long before they became so commonplace, and it's obviously animated, and it's about a whole family of supers, so even if it came out today, it would still have these unique qualities about it. The Incredibles may be about superheroes, but when it really comes down to it, it's about a man experiencing a midlife crisis who learns how to be present and really appreciate his family.
You are my greatest adventure, and I almost missed it.
The premise about superheroes falling from grace with the public and integrating into civilian society is fantastic. Bob is clearly miserable and misses the glory days, and as he seizes the opportunity to secretly resume hero work, the tensions are high. I love watching Helen catch on and investigate the situation. And Violet and Dash coming along as stowaways means the whole family will be involved. The Incredibles is surprisingly adult in some ways. The movie doesn't really shy away from darker elements, such as Bob saving a suicidal man who didn't want to be saved, or supers being killed off, and the story surrounding Bob and Helen's marriage is also quite mature. Not in an inappropriate way, but it's grittier and more realistic than you'd expect from Pixar. The characters are one of the Incredibles' strongest attributes. Bob and Helen are both fully fleshed out people with redeeming qualities and also things they greatly struggle with. Violet and Dash aren't as in-depth, but it works since they're kids. The youth and spunk they bring to the table is welcome. The villain, Syndrome, is interesting and effective. I think he definitely went a little overboard in his quest for revenge, but that's what brings us the story, so I can accept it. We need to discuss the best character in The Incredibles though.
Edna Mode.
No. Edna is a legend, and I love that Brad Bird voiced her, but that's not who I was talking about. Mirage is the best character in not only The Incredibles, but she's one of the best in all of Pixar. She's so mysterious and suave, and at the end of the day, The Incredibles never could have succeeded without her.
How do I get into the computer?
Say please.
Her design, although wildly unrealistic, is spectacular, and Elizabeth Pena put in a marvelous voice performance. Mirage reevaluates her morals throughout the movie, and what she says here to Syndrome perfectly encapsulates one of the film's themes.
Valuing life is not weakness, and disregarding it is not strength.
Circling back on Mirage's unrealistic design, I love how outside of the box Pixar went with the appearance of the humans. This was the first Pixar movie to actually be about people. I see why they waited a while before trying, since the humans we saw in the Toy Story movies left a bit to be desired. The retro-futuristic aesthetic in the movie was a cool idea. It allows for the nostalgia of the 60s with the benefits of modern technology. Best of both worlds, baby. I've mentioned Michael Giacchino a lot throughout this series, but this was the first Pixar movie he ever scored, and holy shit if it isn't incredible. Sorry, it's phenomenal. The punchy, jazzy, larger-than-life brass instrumentals deliver everything you would hope they would and more. There's also much quieter, noir-sounding moments in the score, and altogether, they're perfection. The score is such a large portion of the movie's identity, and it wouldn't be the same without it. The Incredibles is a highly engaging, highly rewatchable film that really made its own mark in terms of what it means to be a superhero movie. The themes about family, compassion, and embracing who you are come through beautifully, and are complemented by lots of action and humor. I love the characters, I love the score, and ultimately, Pixar wouldn't be Pixar without this family of supers.
Number 6. Toy Story.
The one that started it all. Toy Story wasn't just the first Pixar movie, it was the first ever computer animated feature film. The impact Toy Story has had on pop culture and cinema in general is almost immeasurable, and I have a vast respect for this movie and the trails that it blazed. Despite what happened in later years, John Lasseter was a true animation pioneer and visionary for his achievements here and in future Pixar projects. The format of the plot in Toy Story is flawless. Both Woody and Buzz's character arcs as well as the pacing are spot on. It was maybe a bit risky making the main character somewhat unlikable, but the movie does a good job of letting us know why Woody acts the way he does. He's in the wrong, but his situation is understandable and therefore relatable. Woody certainly has an arrogance about him, but the fear of being replaced is a powerful thing, and watching him struggle with this is engaging. Plus, Woody has the very important redeeming quality of caring about Andy above all else. Without that, the movie might fall apart. The identity crisis that Buzz experiences once he finally discovers he doesn't really have powers is painful.
Oh, it's gone. Bye-bye. Woo, see ya.
But Woody helps him see his true value and consider a different purpose, which is to make a kid happy. Woody knows this is the most fulfilling thing in the world for a toy, and he helps Buzz to learn the same. Woody and Buzz may have their own separate arcs in the movie, but their turn from enemies to friends is one of the most important aspects of the film. It's not always in our nature, but if we can find a way to embrace change and not let things like jealousy get in the way, we can forge meaningful relationships we never thought were possible. Friendship is one of the biggest themes in the movie, as Randy Newman's iconic song, "You've Got a Friend in Me" suggests. Speaking of Randy Newman, this was the start of a beautiful relationship between the composer and Pixar. Newman scored the first 4 Pixar films, and as a result, the sound of his music is synonymous with the studio. He is masterful at what he does, and I can't praise the songs and score in Toy Story enough. It's legendary stuff. The animation in Toy Story is not the best. It completely gets a pass though, because it was the first of its kind. And it's not like it looks bad, it's just not up to the standard of Pixar now. The human characters are quite rough though. That was a struggle. But the worst offender is probably Scud, Sid's dog. Woof! The cast of characters that make up Andy's toys is just marvelous. From Rex to Ham to Mr. Potato Head, these are characters that have lived in our minds for years, and even though they're on the side, they are vital to what makes the Toy Story movies work. The sharp humor, entertaining antics, and heartfelt moments in the movies wouldn't be nearly as strong without them. The original Toy Story may not be my favorite of the franchise, but it's still a brilliant and groundbreaking movie. Making a film about the childhood fantasy that our toys are alive was one of the greatest ideas ever. And Toy Story single-handedly defined an animation studio and brought them success. It's a movie I'll continue to enjoy to infinity and beyond. And that's the list. Thanks for joining me for the 4th installment of my Pixar ranking. These are all such amazing movies, and it's really hard to adequately express how I feel about them, but I try. And this was just the first half of my top 10, so for me, the best is yet to come. If you liked this video, please hit like and subscribe, and head over to the Trove to check out more rankings, trivia, and video essays. I'll have playlists linked in the description down below. Feel free to leave a comment telling me your own Pixar rankings, and expect the final video in this series soon. Thanks again for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.